Hello everyone, Andrew Martin here, and welcome one last time to the game of the day from the 2017 British Chess Championships. As most of you already know, Gawain Jones won this year's title. There was a four-way tie for first place between Jones, McShane, David Howe and Craig Hanley, and Jones won the playoff. So warmest congratulations to him. I'm going to focus for my round 9 game of the day on the battle between Zhou and Craig Hanley. For many it might have been a surprise to see Hanley playing so well in this tournament and sharing first equal. But I wasn't too surprised. Craig's an excellent player and he played very dynamically in this tournament, almost in a fearless style. And this fearless style is embodied in this last game. I mean, to play black against Yang Fan in the last round needing to win, this is no easy task. Anyway, white opened with e4 and Hanley played the Najdorf, defence to the Sicilian. Now I'm sure white's next move is pretty rare, queen to d3. I don't think I recall ever having seen this move before whilst running the live commentary. But turns out it has been played quite a few times recently, and to me it looks like a temporary solution. You know, it's not a move that's going to last. It's just an attempt to take Najdorf players away from theory into something novel. As usual, when white plays weird moves against the Najdorf, it's quite a good idea just to go back into a dragon setup. So I believe g6 to be the most reliable way to meet this very strange queen move. I mean, the idea of it is later on the queen swings along the third rank and white creates an attack. But as I say, I can't think it's a trend which is going to last too much. If you look up the stats, you'll see that black is scoring very well with this dragon setup. And it's hard for white to make sense of his queen move once black plays g6. That's my feeling. Anyway, Hanley played knight bd7. And again, that looks like a very reasonable move, with the knight coming to c5 or e5 at a moment's notice to harass the white queen. White played bishop e2, and now Hanley brought his knight up to c5, whereupon Yang Fan put his queen on e3, which is what they apparently do in this line. Again, you can't help but feel that white's play is a little bit artificial. It looks weird. Queen d3, queen e3, blocking in the bishop on c1. Well, as I say, white's trying to create a novel situation. He's probably thinking about bishop d2 and castles on the queen side, followed by some sort of kingside pawn storm. So black played e5. That's the move that a6 prepared. Why not go through with it? Well, knight to b3, bishop to e6, and I'm not quite sure I like the way this is turning out for black. The way the pawn structure has been reconfigured, to me, looks as though it favours white. I know in the Sicilian, you know, the d5 square is critical and black seems to be covering that with lots of pieces, but I think actually this opening has gone in favour of white. So to an extent, you could say that Yang Fan's opening strategical ideas worked. And white played queen to g3, putting pressure on e5, which apparently is a new move. Beforehand, castles was played, which also looks very sensible. Well, now we see Hanley's fearlessness. In the last round, with everything to gain, he plays bishop e7, sacrificing a pawn. A strange looking move, but again, quite in this fearless style. And white has the choice which pawn he wants to take. Does he take on e5? Does he take on g7? Well, taking on g7 allows rook g8, and black starts to get very active. But what about queen takes e5? Well, black castled. White played queen to g3. Black played rook e8. White castled. And now black played queen to b6. And the question we really have to ask here is, has black got enough for a pawn? Objectively, the answer is no. White should be better, if not winning, in this position. But as we know, last round games are nervy affairs, and I'm sure Hanley's whole idea was to put Yang Fan on the defensive. Black's still got a kind of small initiative in return for the pawn. He's tying down the bishop on c1, or so it seems. And, you know, Hanley's relying on the tense atmosphere to give him additional compensation. He's hoping his nerves are going to be better in this difficult position. After long thought, Yang Fan played f4, which must be a good move, but he's got to follow it up correctly. Now in the commentary room we thought bishop h6 was just the most natural move in the world and should have been played. White threatens mate and really gets rid of all his queenside problems. If black goes g6, I think now is the time for f4. This is a much better moment to play it, allowing black to take on b2, after which white ploughs through with f5 with a ferocious attack. I really don't like black's position here. I think if Yang Fan had played this variation, he probably would have won. Just taking a look at this again, if he goes bishop h6, can black play bishop f8? Well, he can, that might be a better move. But now white gains time with bishop g5. Basically what white has achieved here is to get a free move. He's developed his bishop to g5 free of charge, and now he can just defend his queenside with a move like b3. Maybe Yang Fan saw this and didn't like a move like queen b4. I mean, black is pretty active, but then just e5, and after knight e4, the white position is a little bit loose, but he should be able to consolidate, for instance after a move like bishop to d3. Then white remains a pawn up. So bishop h6, hard to say why he didn't play it. Instead he goes through with the tempting move f4. And Hanley just continues with as active a move as he can find, rook a d8. f5 was answered by bishop d6. Another risky but fearless move, challenging move. And white played bishop f4, which may not be best. Now just dropping back, the move that stands out is pawn up to e5. Again, it's hard to explain what Yang Fan didn't like about this move, apart from nervousness. Black's intention is to take that pawn and then to go bishop c4, skewering the queen to the bishop on e2. But I think this position should be good for white, because he can take on e8. This is the point. You get a lot of material for the queen. Now, I'm pretty sure white saw this variation in advance, and he probably didn't like moves like queen to d6. I mean, if white just completes his development without any problems, then he's going to be winning. But black's queen is creating a bit of action in the middle of the board. For instance, queen d4 check is immediately threatened. So maybe Yang Fan thought, well, I can play it a bit more safely than this. But I think white should be winning this position with care. For instance, something like this. And now, what should we play? Well, can we play bishop g5 here? If we can get away with it, then we should certainly develop our pieces. Probably knight g5. Knight g4 is the only move to keep the game on the boil. Then g3, queen takes f5, bishop f4. And white is reaching a position where he can start to claim that he's consolidated. Because if black plays g5, white's got rook to d5. And I think that probably wins. Going back to e5, let's have a look at this again. Takes, queen takes, bishop c4. I think this is a key variation. White sweeps up a lot of pieces for the queen. Queen d6, rook d1, queen e5. There's also knight d5 here. Again, that doesn't do much for white's queenside development, but it does have the merit of offering exchanges on f6. Again, I think this move starts to look good for white if black plays queen takes f5. Then we exchange off the knights, play c3. Black's got to create threats with every move to keep the game on the boil, and then something like bishop f1 should consolidate, because if black plays rook e1, white's got the splendid move bishop f4. And black has some back rank problems. Going back to knight d5, can black try knight g4? Again, this looks like a dangerous move, but I think there white just goes bishop f4. And everything is in order. Well, it's a tricky position. But in the last round, with everything at stake, you've got to find these continuations. Bishop f4. Bishop takes f4. Yang Fan coolly took with the rook. But now a move I'm sure he overlooked, bishop c4, because he thought now for absolutely ages. In fact, this is a very good move and puts severe pressure on white. If white takes that bishop, there are tactics with knight h5, as we're going to see in the game, and then black can come and chomp down on b2, again forking unprotected white pieces. Turns out that white has several ways to save himself, perhaps the safest of which is to go rook f2. Again, it's hard to say why Yang Fan didn't play this move, aside from being very nervous. Some liquidation takes place, and then white goes f6. Okay, I don't think white's winning anymore, but I don't think he would lose this position. Both sides are anchoring their position, and, well, it's about equal. Black can't take on b2 here because of queen h6, so if he can't do that, you know, white will get the chance to solidify the queen side. Instead, bishop takes c4, knight to h5, queen to g4, and probably Hanley just couldn't believe his luck in this position, because the game has suddenly turned on its head and black is now winning himself, I think. Well, okay, rook to b1, maybe that was the point of Yang Fan's long thought. The knight on f4 can't get out, but it can be protected indirectly by tactics. Just dropping back, it's worth mentioning here that if white plays queen takes f4 in this position, queen takes b2, and this is horrible for white. So, rook to b1, not a nice move to play. Queen to f6, continuing with these tactical moves all the way through, pounding away, playing on Yang Fan's nerves. The computer suggests that queen d6 is better, and if rook d1, queen to e5, with everything in order. White can't win the knight on f4 because the bishop on c4 is a liability. So queen to f6 was played. This is good anyway. And now, in time trouble already, bishop f1 was played, which is actually a mistake. Well, I'm not sure what advice to offer. If white takes on f4, we give a check. He parks his king in the corner, and now we take on c4. Now white could play for some tricks here with f6, but for instance, after a move like queen e6, black should have it all covered. I mean, maybe white can bail out to some sort of pawn down ending after knight d5, but as you can see, this is not going to be nice. Okay, it's going to take black a long time to win. Maybe this was the best that white could do, but probably Yang Fan couldn't face this type of continuation, because this is going to go on for hours, and probably at the end of it, black's going to win. So he plays bishop f1, trying to keep the game going. Hanley gives a check, king h1, and now rescues his knight with another one of those very ingenious moves that Hanley's been playing all the way through the championship. Knight to d5, taking advantage of the pin on the pawn at e4. Well, white's got to take. Again, I should stress, he was in desperate time trouble at this point. Black, of course, here could play rook de5. That's a solid way to win. Instead, Hanley comes in with queen f2, trying to create havoc on the back rank, which he succeeds in doing. And now rook to c1 with no time left. Actually, white could try for a trick here, one last trick. f6. There's a point here, there's a trick here. If queen takes f6, white has got e takes d5. And suddenly, because of the back rank, white is winning. But instead, if black plays g6, then I think nothing changes. And I'm sure that's what Hanley would have done. So rook to c1, not nice. h5, freeing up the back rank. Queen f3. He doesn't want the queens off. He's going to win tactically. And after rook a1, black played rook to d4. Queen takes on h5. Really, this is a superior mopping up procedure by Hanley here. And now just the cool g6. Because white can't attack g7 with his queen. So he carries on taking pawns. Now probably the best move here is just to save rook 4 e6. Black's going to win the f6 pawn, and it will be curtains after that because of white's weak back rank. But instead, Hanley continues with the tactics. He wants to end this game quickly, and he plays queen to f4, queen to c3, and now queen to f2. H3. Well, again, I think White could have played for a last trick, rook to d1. This looks completely hopeless, but the idea is that if rook e1, rook takes e1, Black's got to find queen takes e1 here. Because if he plays rook takes e1, check, and amazingly, White scrambles a perpetual. Well, but that's probably not going to happen. I mean, you might as well try your last chance, because after h3, rook e1, it really is curtains. Rook takes, rook takes. No perpetual now, because White's put his pawn on h3. That's pretty sad. King h2, queen f4. And that completes a very well played game by Craig Hanley. And he fully deserved his share of first place. Yang Fan resigned. Well, that's it. That's the end for me of 20 years of consecutive commentary at the British. And it's been great, you know. I think it's the right time to go. Change must come. You know, if the world's full of people who stay in jobs too long, and that just results in stagnation. So it's time now to rejoin the ranks of player, or maybe to help out in some other capacity at the Congress. So before I go, I'd like to just thank a few people. First of all, I'd like to thank the group of people, the Congress organisers. I've worked with a lot of Congress teams over the last 20 years, and they've all been great. These people do a great unselfish job for chess players, and most of it unpaid. I salute them and I admire them for their work. Secondly, I'd like to thank the players who provided us all with such great entertainment over the years. You wouldn't have a commentary if it weren't for the players. So thank you to them. And finally, I'd like to thank the viewers. You know, you are the lifeblood of chess. It's been a privilege working for you, both online and at the tournament. I've met a lot of great people, had a lot of banter, a lot of laughs, and this is the way really to leave the job on a high. So, yeah, on a final positive note, I'm looking forward to the 2018 event already. And long may the great traditions of the British Chess Championship continue.